son was buried in Wilkes-Barre with military honors, waving flags and rifles fired into the spring wind. When he left for Iraq, he told his brother that if he were to be killed, he wanted a full military funeral so his son would remember him as a hero. The presiding clergy talked of pride and patriotism and the great joy that Jesus would feel to have Sherwood home with him. And I could feel no joy or comfort at such a grievous event. So, when it came time to select the bulletin cover for my son's memorial service at our own Methodist church in Philadelphia, I knew what I wanted. The quote from Micah: "What does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love mercy, to walk humbly with your God?" A peace dove decorates the page. I could not bear any more patriotic songs or posthumous medals being presented to me. In those dark and terrible days following the death of my son, Sergeant Sherwood Baker, I just wanted to know what God wanted of me and my family and the soul of my son. My son was a member of the Pennsylvania National Guard, which was an odd choice for a young guy who came into a peace activist family as an abused and abandoned baby. He and our 2 other boys were raised up in the First United Methodist Church of Germantown, where we prayed and worked for social justice. The kids were not permitted to own any toy guns, they couldn't play war, and they were never encouraged to hit back. And later they confided that that was no easy trick to grow up in a tough city, the children of pacifists. But Big Brother Sherwood protected his little brothers as best he could. Sher went to college, he became a nursery school teacher and then a social worker. He married, he had a son, but his income was small, his school loans were daunting, his health insurance erratic, and he wanted to buy a house. When he came to me in 1997 and said he was considering joining the National Guard, he had met guardsmen and he had helped to sandbag a river during a flood. He liked the guardsmen. They were like him. They were engaged in their community. They were helpful. They're the kind of people you turn to in times of trouble. He wanted to be honorable and protect. The National Guard promised to pay off his college loans. He'd be able to buy a house with his extra income, and to my every objection, he would say, "Mom, don't worry. The National Guard never goes to foreign wars. They stay home and protect the state, the country. No Pennsylvania Guardsman has been killed in combat since 1945. What's the worst that could happen, Mom?" he would say. "I'd have to arrest you and Daddy at a demonstration." Sherwood joined the Guard and went on his 2-week trainings in the summer, did 1 weekend a month in the armory. The camaraderie became part of his life. He continued his work as a union steward, continued DJing and being a social worker for mentally challenged adults. The assaults of 9/11 did change everything. As the landscape of revenge and invasion took shape, Sherwood was told his unit was on alert. Rumors of war filled our conversations. Sherwood, a person who championed neglected people, had an acute sense of justice. And once the foolhardy decision to invade Iraq occurred, Sherwood was in an exceedingly painful position. We, his family, were protesting regularly, And he, who was not fooled by the lies of the administration, was facing deployment. With tears in his eyes, he told us he was being trained to practice driving over cardboard cutouts of children with his tank. I prayed that it would be over before he was called up. But by the fall of 2003, I offered to take him to Canada. With great pain, he said no. If I go, they would just court-martial me. And I made an oath before God to do my duty. I'll just go and bring myself and my men home safely. I can't think of the politics of this. I just have to keep my focus. He kissed our tearful faces and left us on March the 8th. He guarded the Iraq Survey Group as they searched for the non-existent weapons of mass destruction. On the early morning of April 26, he died in the arms of his friend following an explosion. He was 30 years old when he died. He still had his college loans, and he not bought a house, and he was the first Pennsylvania Guardsman killed in combat since 1945.